Okay, so I will get on with this. You can all see my screen. This is assessing just part of a site, and this is part of the Sitemorse Shorts webinar series, which unlike on some of the other ones that I've done, it won't go on for 45 minutes. It'll just go on for a few minutes, and this particular one is really quite simple. There's not a lot of options or anything to this. So it shouldn't last very long at all. This webinar is being recorded. So any of you who don't like to be recorded, here's your opportunity to leave now. And I'll open it up at the end to any questions as well. So obviously, if you don't want your question to be recorded, then do feel free not to ask your question here, but to email it in or something like that. Okay, so assessing just part of a site. Like all of these things, I always ask myself, or you should always ask yourself, why do you care? What's the whole point? Why do I care about assessing part of a site? And often you just want to scan part of a site for lots of different reasons. Sometimes you're just updating a section of the website, and you don't want to report on all the other stuff. You want to report on just that section. Another common reason for it is that you've just got a certain number of people who are only interested in part of a site. I mean, a really good example of this is higher education, where you've got something like a university, and there are a number of people who are just responsible for the engineering section of the website. So you'll just scan whatever the university is /engineering, and that's all you want. You don't want all the other stuff. You don't want the maths, you don't want the humanities, you don't want the physics and chemistry and so on. And quite often, sometimes, as I'm sure you know, Sitemorse is very good at finding lots and lots of things that you can go off and improve. And sometimes you just want to ignore all the other stuff from everywhere else on your website and just concentrate on the little bit that you're interested in. So those are lots of good reasons as to why you might want to just look at part of a site. And the way to do it is really trivially easy, which is why this is not going to be very much of a long webinar. It's all about the slash. So if you stick a slash on the end of the URL, that indicates to everybody, not just us, but to everybody, that what you are interested in is the things in that directory. But some of you don't like it. One of the things that I have come across is you put a slash at the end of the URL, and what the web server does is it says, oh no, I don't like that. I'm going to send you a 3 or 4 redirect and take the slash out, and there you go. You have to look at all of my site instead. So I'll talk about that really. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up. I'm just going to pull up this, which is my my digital properties. Let me just move my icons out of the way and show you what I mean by this. The site that I'm going to use as just a little example is one of my test sites. And what I'm interested in is just the test directory. I'm not interested in all the other stuff and so on. So typically what I would do is, if I was testing this, I would just go along to my digital properties like you always do, run another on-demand test, and I would just put in test there. So what that will do is, because it's got the slash on the end, it will start here and it will look at all the items that are underneath that URL. So for example, it will test this page, which is tests aria. It will look to see if all of these other links are working, but it won't actually test those pages. So that's the idea of that. So it'll tell you if there's a broken link from this page to some other pages that are outside the scope of this, but it won't go and do the full accessibility and code quality and performance and email checks on all of those pages. Now back to a little bit of what some websites do, and I think it's to I think the SEO people are trying to get just one URL for things like searches. But sometimes what I see on the website is we submit a URL like this with a slash on the end, and then you've got a redirect without the slash on the end, which of course tells us to ignore the fact that we put a slash on the end and to in fact go and scan the entire website, which is often not what you want when you're trying to just scan part of a website. So there are ways around that we can do with one of our little special advanced configs on the back end, whereby we can say start here, but do that, but exclude this and include those things, and pretend we've actually got a slash on the end anyway. But that will involve us doing a little bit of configuration on your behalf. So if you do find that, then that'll be, if you do find sometimes you're getting far more pages than you expected because you put a slash on the end, just have a little check of that to find out if it's redirecting it to without the slash, because that's probably the issue. And if it is, you can give us a shout. And really, I've spent 7 minutes talking about putting a slash on the end of the stuff, and it's really as simple as that. Okay, back to the presentation, and then we can finish up on that because there's just the one slide on there, and that is what to do next. So yeah, once you've worked out you put a slash on the end, then what you can do is you can go to the Sitemorse help site, where there are loads more articles on or well, everything really, but quite a lot on running on-demand assessments and sticking the slash on the end to restrict it to various parts. Okay, I told you that was quick. In reality, it's probably only 5 or 6 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is open it up for anybody who has any questions that they want to ask about this.
Rabbi, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah. So as you said, I went into digital property, and how I can test a single specific page, because I missed when you are telling about it. Can you please help me out?
And you just want to test a single page rather than a single section? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, single section.
Oh, a single section. It's basically just put a slash on the end. If you, by the way, if you missed the beginning of this, it's been recorded, so you can play it back from the beginning. But essentially, yes, you are just putting a single slash on the end, and that will just test all of the URLs that are underneath that URL there. Yeah.
So when I go into digital properties, I don't see the same screen like you. You have page or site, list of URLs, HTML source.
So when you're in digital properties,
yeah, I saw. I'm seeing
click
the same.
on the plus there. Yeah, you see there's a little plus.
Okay, on demand.
When you click on that, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, as an aside, the other thing on digital properties here, and there's some help files on the Sitemorse help site, which you haven't been to, is help.sitemorse.com. There's a whole load of stuff on there about all of these things and much more besides. But whilst you're on that page, most of you will just put a URL in there, for example, but on these other ones, entry exit pages, you can put a whole list of URLs on there, and it'll create a report from just those pages. Or if it's a bit too long to type in, you can upload a list of URLs and so on. There's a lot more, including some videos about how to use that on the help site.
So once we add a specific page URL into this page or site, will that run every week? Like we get every week Sitemorse report. So
no, it won't. It will just run it once. So if you want that to then appear as a scheduled scan, then that is something that you can ask us to do. And basically what we'll do is we will set up a schedule for you, if you're assuming you're a Sitemorse client, of course, and it's within the terms of your license agreement, then we would set up a schedule to run a number of pages, typically once a week or something like that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I've just got a quick one. So I don't normally use the on-demand assessment area of it. The only time I've done that is, when you're using, the smart view to sort of do a scan. So that's where it appears under there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So can you use that? We've got a number of partner sites. So our main council site is scanned regularly by the system, but we've got a number of partner websites. Can we create a list of URLs on an external site that we manage, and it will generate a report from them?
If that's within your license agreement terms, yes.
Right, I don't know. So I'll probably speak to Laura about that.
Question for Laura about that. Laura, Laura coordinates everything here. I was talking to some of our American clients last week, and I described her job description as quarterback. Everything goes through Laura.
Guardian.
So yes, I mean, technically, those things are all possible. Yeah. And of course, sometimes what you have is in your on your digital properties. I've just got the one site on mine as a test, but and it starts at my homepage. But often, what you'll see is someone say, like a university, you might have 20 or 30 of these things down here, and they're all just doing sections of the site because they've all got little slashes on the end. And then once it's like that, then it works exactly the same way as everything else that you've got as a Sitemorse client. You can click on the cog and request a new assessment and so on and so on and so on, all that sort of stuff. Okay, that was probably a very long-winded yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? But it's an interesting question, and to expand on that a little bit, we do have a number of really quite sophisticated configuration options. We can start in more than one place. We can exclude parts of things. We can add other bits and pieces in as well. We need to configure all that for you as a Sitemorse client, and it depends on sort of what maintenance contract you were on. But there's some really interesting stuff we can do to just pull out parts of a site or sites that you want to test. I'll use another university example. Imagine I'm responsible for the engineering section, but in the engineering section, we also have the maths and engineering, but maths and engineering is under the maths section of the website. We can set up a little rule in the back that says, go get all the engineering stuff, plus get the stuff from the maths site that is in the maths and engineering section, and exclude from the maths report all the stuff that's in maths and engineering, because that goes to someone else. So we can slice and dice all sorts of stuff with various slashes and rules on our back end to just pull out parts of a site, excluding other bits, adding other bits and pieces in as well. In effect, the whole business case for this is to provide a group of people who look at the report with just the stuff that's applicable to them, whether it's from 4 different places with bits excluded, included, and whatever.
Just a sort of friendly feedback, it probably would be useful if at some point, if you're able to, is to work on an interface that allows us to do that ourselves as well, without having to sort of come to yourselves for that function.
Yeah.
Just to do.
Now, if you use the Sitemorse API, which is a completely different topic, that's a programmatic way to initiate a scan and get all your detailed results back in JSON. That's something you can control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we might do at some point in the future is to expand that, so you've got so you can use it through this UI. One of the reasons why we tend to do it ourselves now is quite easy to not get it right. So, for example, if a customer would come to me and say, I want to this bit of the site, this bit of the site, the other bit of the site. As I did actually last week for this American client, I would run something as a test of 10, 20 pages or something with that configuration to check that it was pulling back all the right pages and we hadn't missed something out and so on. And at that point, then we'd configure it properly and do the full test. But yeah, thanks for that feedback. It would be a useful thing to have at some point. An easier to use interface, not a programmatic one. Any other questions?